Now we're on Genesis chapter 21, the birth of Isaac. The one who has been told about a while ago, and we're finally going to see him. Alright. The Lord came to Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age. At the appointed time God had told him. Abraham named his son, who was born to him, the one Sarah bore to him, Isaac. When his son Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him as God had commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Sarah said, God has made me laugh, and everyone who hears will laugh with me. She also said, who would have told Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne a son for him in his old age. Hagar and Ishmael sent away. The child grew and was weaned, and Abraham held a great feast on the day Isaac was weaned. But Sarah saw the son mocking, the one Hagar the Egyptian had borne to Abraham. So she said to Abraham, drive out the slave with her son, for the son of the slave will not be a co-heir with my son Isaac. So Sarah's son Isaac was growing up. Hagar's son Ishmael was making fun of him. Sarah, who was already jealous, this put her over the edge. She said, get him out. This was very distressing to Abraham because of his son, but God said to Abraham, do not be distressed about the boy and about your slave. Whatever Sarah says to you, listen to her, because your offspring will be traced through Isaac. And I will also make a nation of the slave's son, because he is your offspring. Early in the morning, Abraham got up, took bread and a water skin, put them on Hagar's shoulders, and sent her and the boy away. She left and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she left the boy under one of the bushes and went and sat at a distance, about a bow shot away. For she said, I can't bear to watch the boy die. While she sat at the distance, she wept loudly. So Hagar and her son got sent away. She got desperate. They ran out of water. It was hot. She thought the boy was going to die, so she set the boy down, walked away, and started crying. That's what happened. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, what is wrong, Hagar? Don't be afraid, for God has heard the boy crying from the place where he is. Get up, help the boy up, grasp his hand, for I will make him a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well. So she went and filled a water skin and gave the boy drink. God was with the boy, and he grew. He settled in the wilderness and became an archer. He settled in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother got a wife for him from the land of Egypt. Right. Abraham's covenant with Abimelech. At the time that Abimelech Abimelech, accompanied by Phicol, the commander of his army, said to Abraham, God is with you in everything you do. Swear to me by God here and now that you will not break an agreement with me or my children and descendants. As I have been loyal to you, so you will be loyal to me and the country where you are a resident alien. And Abraham said, I swear it. But Abraham complained to Abimelech because of the well that Abimelech's servants had seized. Abimelech replied, I don't know what to do with this thing. You didn't report anything to me, so I hadn't heard about it until today. Abraham took flocks and herds and gave them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. Abraham separated 7 ewe lambs from the flock. And Abimelech said to Abraham, why have you separated these 7 ewe lambs? He replied, you are to accept the 7 ewe lambs from me, so that this act will serve as my witness that I dug this well. Therefore the place was called Beersheba, because it was there that the two of them swore an oath. After they had made a covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, left and returned to the land of the Philistines. So he's like, hey, I built this is my land, get out. And they're like, okay. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there he called on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And Abraham lived as an alien in the land of the Philistines for many days. After these things, God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham, here I am, he answered. Take your son, he said, your only son Isaac, whom you love. Go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will tell you about. So this is a lot, right? So Abraham waited 100 years to get this kid. He finally had a son with Sarah, and now God's saying, hey, go burn him as an offering to me. And he did what he said. So Abraham got up early in the morning, saddled his donkey, and took with him 2 of his young men and his son Isaac. He split wood for a burnt offering and set out to go to the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place at a distance. Then Abraham said to his young men, "Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go over there to worship. Then we'll come back to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and laid it on his son Isaac. In his hand he held the fire and the knife, and the 2 of them walked on together. Then Isaac spoke to his father Abraham and said, "My father." And he replied, "Here I am, my son." Isaac said, "The fire and the wood are here, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the 2 of them walked on together. So Abraham had to be near tears here. That's his son's asking questions. His son's walking up to his death, and Abraham's fully ready to do it. When they arrived at the place that God had told him about, Abraham built the altar there and arranged the wood. He bound his son Isaac and placed him on the altar on top of the wood. Then Abraham reached out and took the knife to slaughter his son. But the angel of the Lord called him from heaven and said, "Abraham, Abraham." He replied, "Here I am." And then he said, "Do not lay a hand on the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son from me." Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught in the thickets by its horns. So Abraham went and took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering in the place of his son. And Abraham named the place, "The Lord will provide." So today it is said, "It will be provided on the Lord's mountain." So Abraham took his son, was just about to kill him by the Lord's command. And they said, No, wait. Take this ram instead. What's up?
Hello!
Are you all done?
No.
Oh, man.
I'm just getting water. What are you reading?
I am reading Genesis
How
22,
many chapters are there?
50. Got this. I just got an email from Pizza Hut. The stream is brought to you by Pizza Hut.
Don't say that.
Emails.
You can get in trouble.
100% is true. Then the angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time from heaven and said, "By myself I have sworn."
You're not doing fun voices?
I'm reading.
By myself I have sworn.
Okay, then the angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time from heaven and said, "By myself I have sworn. This is the Lord's declaration. Because you have done this thing and have not withheld your only son, I will indeed bless you and make your offspring as numerous as the stars of the sky
You're making your show.
and the sand of the seashore. Your offspring will possess the city gates of their enemies, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed by your offspring, because you have obeyed my command." Abraham went back to his young men, and they got up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham settled in Beersheba.
I like whenever I say fun voices and your immediate response is always an old man voice.
That's my go-to.
Are old men fun for you?
Yeah, they are.
Okay, I'm gonna.
What do you want God to sound like? Like a little girl?
No.
An old man. He's the father.
It's very gross.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna vacuum our cars. I cleaned out everything. I'm gonna clean the mats, and then I'm gonna clean the outsides of the cars,
You're so great.
and then I'll be done.
You don't-
It's just really hot outside.
You don't have to wash my
I
car.
have to.
You don't.
I already started.
I can do it.
Too late.
I can put $2 in
Yeah,
the machine.
but whenever you say that you'll do it, you
I push
you
it up
don't.
indefinitely.
So.
But I don't want you to do it, so now I feel guilty.
Guess what you can help me with later? As soon
I'll
as you're
give you
done.
tickles.
No. My mom needs us to clean out the storage space again.
Alright, I guess I'll do that.
You can help me then.
Okay.
And we'll be in your room this week. And I'm sure that this is really interesting if anybody's listening to you.
Probably not. Alright, time to read
Bye.
about Rebecca. Bye!
Oh, I love her.
Rebecca's family.
Except for whenever she was really mean. And then I did it.
Now, after these things, Abraham was told, "Milcah also has borne sons to your brother Nahor. Uz, his firstborn, his brother Buz, Camuel, his father of Aram, Shezed, Hazo, Pildash, Jedilaph, and Bethuel. And Bethuel fathered Rebekah. Milcah bore these 8 to Nahor, Abraham's brother. His concubine, whose name was Reumah, also bore Teba, Gaham, Tahash, and Maacah. Sarah's burial. Now Sarah lived 127 years. These were all the years of her life. Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan, and Abraham went to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Then Abraham got up beside his dead wife and spoke to the Hittites. I am an alien residing among you. Give me burial property among you so I can bury my dead. The Hittites replied to Abraham, Listen to us, my lord. You are a prince of God among us. Bury your dead in our finest burial place. None of us will withhold from you his burial place for burying your dead. Then Abraham rose and bowed to the Hittites, the people of the land. He said to them, If you are willing for me to bury my dead, listen to me, and ask Ephron, son of Zohar, on my behalf to give me the cave of Machpelah that belongs to him. It is at the end of his field. Let him give it to me in your presence for the full price as a burial property. Ephron was sitting among the Hittites, so in his hearing of all the Hittites who came to get a city, Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham, No, my lord, listen to me. I give you the field, and I give you the cave that is in it. I give it to you in the sight of my people. Bury your dead. Abraham bowed down to the people of the land and said to Ephron in the hearing of the people of the land, Listen to me, if you please. Let me pay the price of the field. Accept it from me, and let me bury my dead there. Ephron answered Abraham and said to him, My lord, listen to me. Land worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? Bury your dead. Abraham agreed with Ephron, and Abraham weighed out to Ephron the silver that he had agreed to in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 standard shekels of silver. So Ephron's field at Machpelah near Mamre, the field with its cave and the trees, anywhere within the boundaries of the field, became Abraham's possessions in the sight of all the Hittites who came to the gate of the city. And after this, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave of the field of Machpelah near Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. The field with its cave passed from the Hittites to Abraham as burial property. So, what happened here? Abraham's wife Sarah died with his one son that he had, Isaac, and he didn't have a place to bury her because he didn't own any land. He was a wanderer his whole life. So he bought this land for a pretty good price from this guy. He has this cave and a field that are now his. And that cave is where Sarah was buried. Cool stuff. A wife for Isaac. So Abraham, now being reminded of mortality of life, he's getting a little concerned about Isaac. Abraham was now old, getting on in years, and the Lord had blessed him in everything. Abraham said to his servant, the elder of his household, who managed all he owned, Place your hand under my thigh, and I will have you swear by the Lord, God of heaven and God of earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I live, but will go to my land and my family to take a wife for my son Isaac. The servant said to him, Suppose the woman is unwilling to follow me to this land. Should I have your son go back to the land you came from? Abraham answered him, Make sure that you don't take my son back there. The Lord God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and from my native land, who spoke to me and swore to me, I will give this land to your offspring. He will send his angel before you. You can take a wife for my son from there. If the woman is unwilling to follow you, then you are free from this oath to me. But don't let my son go back there. So the servant placed his hand under his master Abraham's thigh and swore an oath to him concerning this matter. Putting your hand under her thigh was like a pinky promise, basically. So he was making this very important promise. He says, Hey, go to the land of my descendants, my father's descendants. I want someone within my family who I know is holy. I don't want my son to marry someone local. And he's like, Aight, dude, but what if she doesn't want to go? And then Abraham said, if she doesn't want to go, then whatever. You're done. And he says, Aight, dude. So they give their pinky promise under the thigh. And that's that. Alright. The servant took 10 of his master's camels, and with all kinds of his master's goods in hand, he went to Aram Naharaim, to Nahor's town. At evening, the time when women went out to draw water, he made the camels kneel beside a well outside the town. Lord God of my master Abraham, he prayed, make this happen for me today, and show kindness to my master Abraham. I am standing here at the spring, where the daughters of the men of the town are coming out to draw water. Let the girl to whom I say, please lower your water jug so that I may drink. And he responds, drink, and I'll water your camels also. Let her be the one you have appointed as your servant Isaac. By this I will know you have shown kindness to my master. So the servant's like, hey, I need to know which of these ladies is going to marry Isaac. So here's what I need. I'm going to ask them for some water. And she's going to give some to not only me, but my camels as well. That's the person who can marry Isaac. That's what was discussed here. That was what the prayer was. Before he had finished speaking, there was Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor, coming with a jug on her shoulder. Now the girl was very beautiful, a virgin. No man had ever been intimate with her. She went down to the spring, filled her jug, and came up. Then the servant ran to meet her and said, please, let me have a little water from your jug. She replied, drink, my lord. She quickly lowered her jug to her hand and gave him a drink. When she had finished giving him a drink, she said, I'll also draw water for your camels until they haven't had enough to drink. She quickly emptied her jug into the trough and hurried to the well again to draw water. She drew water for all of his camels, when the man silently watched her to see whether or not the Lord had made his journey a success. As the camels finished drinking, the man took a gold ring weighing 1/2 shekel, and for her wrists 2 bracelets weighing 10 shekels of gold. Whose daughter are you? He asked. Please tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night? She answered him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor. She also said to him, we have plenty of straw and feed at the place to spend the night. Then the man knelt low, worshipped the Lord, and said, blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not withheld his kindness and faithfulness from my master. As for me, the Lord has led me on the journey to the house of my master's relatives. The girl ran and told her mother's household about these things. Now Rebekah had a brother named Laban, and Laban ran out to the man at the spring. As soon as he had seen the ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrists, and when he had heard his sister Rebekah's words, the man said this to me. He went to the man. He was standing there by the camels at the spring. Laban said, come, you who are blessed by the Lord, why are you standing out here? I have prepared the house and a place for the camels. So the man said to the house, and the camels were so the man came to the house, and the camels were unloaded. Straw and feed were given to the camels, and water was brought to wash his feet and the feet of the men with him. A meal was set before him. He said, I will not eat till I have said what I have to say. So Laban said, please speak. I am Abraham's servant, he said. The Lord has greatly blessed my master, and he has become rich. He has given him flocks and herds, silver and gold, male and female slaves, and camels and donkeys. Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master in her old age, and he has given him everything he owns. My master put me under his oath. He will not take a wife for my son from his daughters of the Canaanites in whom the land I live, but will go to my father's family, to my clan, and take a wife for my son. But I said to my master, suppose the woman will not come back with me. He said to me, the Lord before whom I have walked will send his angels with you and make your journey a success, and you will take a wife for my son from my clan and from my father's family. Then you will be free from my oath. If you go to my family and they do not give her to you, you will be free from my oath. Then when I came to the spring, I prayed, Lord, God of my master Abraham, if only you will make my journey successful. I am standing here at a spring with the young woman who comes out to draw water, and I say to her, please let me drink a little water from your jug, and who responds to me, drink, and I'll draw water for your camels also. Let her be the woman the Lord has appointed for my master's son. Before I had finished praying silently, there was Rebekah coming with her jug on her shoulder, and she went down to the spring and drew water. So I said to her, please let me have a drink. She quickly lowered her jug from her shoulder and said, drink, and I'll water your camels also. So I drank, and she also watered the camels. Then I asked her, whose daughter are you? She responded, the daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to him. So I put a ring on her nose and the bracelets on her wrists. Then I knelt low, worshipped the Lord, and blessed the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who guided me on the right way to take the granddaughter of my master's brother for his son. Now you're going to show me kindness and faithfulness to my master, tell me. If not, tell me, and I will go elsewhere. Laban and Bethuel answered, this is from the Lord. We have no choice in the matter. Rebekah is here in front of you. Take her and go, and let her be a wife for your master's son, just as the Lord has spoken. When Abraham's servants heard the words, he bowed to the ground before the Lord. Then he brought out objects of silver and gold and garments and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave precious gifts to her brother and her mother. Then he and the men with him ate and drank and spent the night. When they got up in the morning, he said, "Send me to my master." But her brother and her mother said, "Let the girl stay with us for about 10 days. Then she can go." But he responded to them, "Do not delay me, since the Lord has made my journey a success. Send me away so I may go to my master." So they said, "Let's call the girl and ask her opinion." They called Rebekah and said to her, "Will you go with this man?" She replied, "I will go." So they sent away their sister Rebekah with one who had nursed and raised her, and Abraham's servant and his men. They blessed Rebekah, saying to her, "Our sister, may you become thousands upon 10,000s. May your offspring possess the city gates of their enemies." Then Rebekah and her female servants got up, mounted the camels, and followed the man. So the servants took Rebekah and left. Now Isaac was returning from Beer-lahai, for he was living in the Negev region. In the early evening, Isaac went out to walk in the field, and looking up, he saw camels coming. Rebekah looked up, and when she saw Isaac, she got down from her camel and asked her servant, "Who is the man in the field coming to meet us?" The servant answered, "It is my master." So she took her veil and covered herself, and then the servant told Isaac everything he had done. And Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah and told Rebekah to be his wife. Isaac loved her, and he was comforted after his mother's death. So Abraham sends a servant to go find a wife for Isaac from his father's family. He finds one. They get married. It's beautiful. Here's our family tree. Right. This is where we are right now. This love relationship. Right. Abraham's other wives and sons. Wow. Abraham had taken another wife whose name was Keturah, and she bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ashbak, and Shua. And Jokshan fathered Sheba and Dedan. And Dedan's sons were the Ashtaram, Letusham, and Leumim. And Midian's sons were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldaah. All these were sons of Keturah. Abraham gave everything he owned to Isaac, but Abraham gave gifts to the sons of his concubines, and while he was still alive, he sent them eastward, away from his son Isaac, to the land of the east. Now, what we know prior is east usually isn't the best place to go. Adam and Eve were sent east from the garden. Lot went east into Sodom. So this might be foreshadowing. Abraham's death. This is the length of Abraham's life. 175 years. He took his last breath and died at a good old age, old and contented. He was gathered to his people. His son Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar, the Hittite. This was a field that Abraham bought from the Hittites. Abraham was buried there with his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac, who lived near Beth Laoi. So Abraham's buried with his wife on the land that he bought. Ishmael's family records. So this is Hagar's son, not Sarah's son. These are the family records of Abraham's son Ishmael, who Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's slave, bore to Abraham. These are the names of Ishmael's sons. Their names, according to the family records, are Nebaioth, Ishmael's firstborn, then Kedar, Abdil, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These are Ishmael's sons, and these are their names by their settlements and encampments, 12 leaders of their clans. This is the length of Ishmael's life, 137 years. He took his last breath and died, and was gathered to his people, and they settled from Havilah to Shur, which is opposite Egypt as you would go toward Asher. He stayed near all his relatives. So Ishmael settled down, and his family just sprouted around him, and that was about it. Alright, our next major player is the birth of Jacob and Esau. These are the family records of Isaac, son of Abraham. Abraham fathered Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took as his wife Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean from Paddan Aram, and sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. The Lord was receptive to his prayer, and his wife Rebekah conceived, but the children inside her struggled with each other. And she said, "Why is this happening to me?" She went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb. Two people will come from you and be separated. One people will be stronger than the other. The older will serve the younger." So we have two kids coming out. We have the older and the older serves the younger. Wow, amazing. When her time came to give birth, there were indeed twins in her womb. The first one came out red-looking, covered with hair, like a fur coat. They named him Esau. After this, his brother came out, grasping Esau's heel with his hand, so he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when they were born. Esau means... it doesn't say. Jacob means he grasps the heel. Esau sells his birthright. So in general, Esau was more of a manly man, but not the smartest. And Jacob was the opposite. He was not a manly man, but he was very cunning. Alright, so when the boys grew up, Esau became an expert hunter and outdoorsman, but Jacob was a quiet man who stayed at home. Isaac loved Esau because he had the taste for wild game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Once, when Jacob was cooking stew, Esau came in from the field exhausted. He said to Jacob, "Let me eat some of that red stuff because I'm exhausted." That is why he was also named Edom. What does that mean? I'm red. Jacob replied, "First, sell me your birthright." "Look," said Esau, "I'm about to die, so what good is a birthright to me?" Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore to Jacob and sold his birthright to him. Then Jacob gave bread and lentil stew to Esau. He ate, drank, got up, and went away. So Esau despised his birthright. So Jacob is basically saying, hey, you're the older brother, but I want your inheritance. And he's like, oh, I'm dying. I'm so tired. He probably wasn't actually dying, but he's like, I'm so tired. I need food. So Jacob said, I'll give you food if you give me your inheritance. And he took it. The promise reaffirmed to Isaac. There was another famine in the land in addition to the one that had occurred in Abraham's life, and Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. The Lord appeared to him and said, do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land that I tell you about. Stay in this land as an alien, and I will be with you and bless you, for I will give all these lands to you and your offspring, and I will confirm the oath that I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your offspring as numerous as the stars of the sky. I will give your offspring all these lands, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed by your offspring. Because Abraham listened to me and kept my mandate, my commands, my statutes, my instructions. So Isaac settled in Gerar. So this is God just restating what he told Abraham, but to Isaac, so he knows that it's the real deal. Isaac's deception. When the men of the place asked about his wife, he said, she is my sister. For he was afraid to say, my wife, thinking the men of this place will kill me on account of Rebekah, for she is a beautiful woman. When Isaac had been there for some time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked down from the window and was surprised to see Isaac caressing his wife, Rebekah. Abimelech sent for Isaac and said, so she really is your wife. How could you say she is my sister? Isaac answered him, because I thought I might die on account of her. Then Abimelech said, what is this you have done to us? One of the people could easily have slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us. So Abimelech warned all the people, whoever harms this man or his wife will certainly be put to death. Poor Abimelech. The same thing that Abraham did to him, his son did to him. He said, hey, Rebekah is my sister, so don't kill me. And then he's like, wait a minute, you don't cuddle your sister like that. That's your wife. And then he said, hey, don't hurt this guy. We'll be in trouble if we do. Conflicts over wells. Isaac sowed seeds in the land, and in that year he reaped 100 times what was sown. The Lord blessed him, and the man became rich and kept getting richer until he was very wealthy. He had flocks of sheep, herds of cattle, and many slaves, and the Philistines were envious of him. Philistines stopped up all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of his father Abraham, filling them with dirt. And Abimelech said to Isaac, "Leave us, for you are much too powerful to us." So Isaac left there, camped in the Gerar Valley, and lived there. Isaac reopened the wells that had been dug in the days of his father Abraham, and that the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham died. He gave them the same names his father had given them. When Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found a well of spring water there, but the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen and said, "That water is ours." So he named the well Esek, because they argued with him. Then they dug another well and quarreled over that one, so they named it Sitnah. He moved from there and dug another, and they did not quarrel over it. He named it Rehoboth, and said, "For now the Lord has made a space for us, and we will be fruitful in the land." So the renaming of the first well means argument. The renaming of the second well means hostility. And the final well means open spaces. Alright, the Lord appears to Isaac. From there he went up to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him that night and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your offspring because of my servant Abraham." So he built an altar there, and called the name of the Lord, and pitched his tent there. Isaac's servants also dug a well there. Covenant with Abimelech. Now Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzath, his advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his army. Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me? You hated me and sent me away from you." They replied, "We have clearly seen how the Lord has been with you. We think there should be an oath between two parties, between us and you. Let us make a covenant with you. You will not harm us, just as we have not harmed you. But you have done only what is good to you, sending you away in peace. You are now blessed by the Lord." So he prepared a banquet for them, and they ate and drank, and they got up early in the morning and swore an oath to each other. Isaac sent them on the way, and they left him in peace. On that same day, Isaac's servants came to tell him about the well they had dug, saying to him, "We have found water." He called it Sheba. Therefore, the name of the city is still Beersheba today. Esau's wives. When Esau was 40 years old, he took as his wives Judith, daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basemath, daughter of Elon the Hittite. They made life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. So Esau had two women, and his parents didn't like it. So that's beautiful. The stolen blessing. When Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak he could not see, he called his older son Esau and said to him, "My son." And he answered, "Here I am." He said, "Look, I am old now, and I don't know the day of my death. So now take your hunting gear, your quiver and bow, and go out in the field to hunt some game for me. Then make me a delicious meal that I love and bring it to me to eat, so that I can bless you before I die." Now Rebekah was listening to what Isaac said to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt some game to bring in, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Listen, I heard your father talking with your brother Esau. He said, 'Bring me game and make a delicious meal for me to eat, so I can bless you in the Lord's presence before I die.' Now my son, listen to me and do what I tell you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, and I will make them into a delicious meal for your father, the kind he loves. Then take it to your father and eat, so that he may bless you before he dies." So what happens here is Jacob realizes that even though Esau promised him his birthright, those were just words and didn't mean much. And Isaac, nearing his death, told Esau to go hunt for some game, and then he will give him his blessing. So now Rebekah is saying, "No, that's terrible. You're my favorite son. I want you to have the blessing. You need to trick him into thinking that you are Esau." So Jacob is now going to trick Isaac into thinking that he is his brother to get his blessing. Jacob answered Rebekah his mother, "Look, my brother Esau is a hairy man, but I'm a man with smooth skin. Suppose my father touches me, then I'll be revealed to him as a deceiver and bring a curse rather than a blessing on myself." His mother said to him, "Your curse be on me, my son. Just obey me and go get them for me." So he went and got the goats and brought them to his mother, and his mother made the delicious food his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best clothes of her older son Esau, which were in the house, and had her younger son Jacob wear them. She put the skins of the young goats on his hands and the smooth part of his neck. Then she handed the delicious food and the bread she had made to her son Jacob. So Rebekah made the meal, clothed Jacob in Esau's clothing, put the skin of the animal onto Jacob so he felt hairy like Esau, and sent him out. When he came to his father, he said, "My father." And he answered, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Jacob replied to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may bless me." But Isaac said to his son, "How did you ever find it so quickly, my son?" He replied, "Because the Lord your God made it happen for me." Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come closer so I can touch you, my son. Are you really my son Esau or not?" So Jacob came closer to his father Isaac. When he touched him, he said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau. So he blessed him. Again he asked, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he replied, "I am." Then he said, "Bring it closer to me, and let me eat some of my son's game so that I can bless you." Jacob brought it closer to him, and he ate. He brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Please come closer and kiss me, my son." So he came closer and kissed him. When Isaac smelled his clothes, he blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son, it is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you from the dew of the sky and from the richness of the land an abundance of grain and new wine. May peoples you serve and nations bow and worship to you. Be master over your relatives. May your mother's son bow and worship to you. Those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed." As soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, Jacob had left the presence of his father Isaac. His brother Esau arrived from his hunting. He had also made some delicious food and brought it to his father. He said to his father, "Let my father get up and eat some of his son's game, so that you may bless me." But his father Isaac said to him, "Who are you?" He answered, "I am Esau, your firstborn son." Isaac began to tremble uncontrollably. Who was it then?" He said, "who hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it all before you came in, and I blessed him. Indeed, he will be blessed." When Esau heard his father's word, he cried out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me too, my father." He replied, "Your brother came in deceitfully and took your blessing." So he said, "Isn't he rightfully named Jacob? For he has cheated me twice now. He took my birthright, and look, he has taken my blessing." Then he asked, "Haven't you saved a blessing for me?" But Isaac answered Esau, "Look, I have made him a master over you, and have given him all of his relatives and his servants, and have sustained him with grain and new wine. What then can I do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "You have only one blessing, my father. Bless me too, my father." And Esau wept loudly. And his father Isaac answered him, "Look, your dwelling place will be away from the richness of the land, away from the dew of the sky above. You will live by your sword and will serve your brother. But when you rebel, you will break his yoke from your neck." So, because Isaac gave Jacob so much in his blessing, there wasn't anything else he could give Esau, and he already deemed him as a servant, so all he could do was just reestablish that. Esau's anger. Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him, and Esau determined in his heart, "The days of mourning for my father are approaching, then I will kill my brother Jacob." So he's saying, once my dad dies, I'm going to kill my brother. And keep in mind, this is what God said would happen to Isaac and Rebekah. They said that the firstborn son would serve the younger, and that's exactly what's happening. When the words of her older son Esau reported to Rebekah, she summoned her younger son Jacob, which is her favorite, and said to him, "Listen, your brother Esau is consoling himself by planning to kill you. So now, my son, listen to me. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran and stay with him for a few days until your brother's anger subsides, until your brother's rage turns away from you and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send for you and bring you back from there. Why should I lose you both in one day?" So Rebekah said to Isaac, "I'm sick of my life because of these Hittite girls. If Jacob marries someone from around here, like the Hittite girls, what good is my life?" So Rebekah's being real manipulative, and she's going to send Jacob out because she doesn't want Esau to kill him. If I'm correct, this is the last time that Jacob sees his mom, Rebekah. Jacob's departure. So Isaac summoned Jacob, blessed him, and commanded him, "Do not marry a Canaanite girl, and go at once to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father. Marry one of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, so that you become an assembly of peoples. May God give you and your offspring the blessing of Abraham, so that you may possess the land where you live as a foreigner." The land God gave to Abraham. So Isaac sent Jacob to Padan Aram, to Laban, son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau. So Jacob's going to live with his aunt's family to marry someone there. Esau noticed that Isaac blessed Jacob and sent him to Padan Aram to get a wife there. When he blessed him, Isaac commanded Jacob, "Do not marry a Canaanite girl." And Jacob listened to his father and mother and went to Padan Aram. And Esau realized his father Isaac disapproved of the Canaanite women. So Esau went to Ishmael and married, in addition to his other wives, Mahalath, daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son. She was the sister of Nebaioth. So Esau heard that his dad didn't like the woman that he married, so he married someone else as well. So he gets a third wife. Here is where we are now. Fun stuff. Jacob left Beersheba and went toward Haran. He reached a certain place and spent the night there because the sun had set. He took one of the stones from the place and put it there at his head and lay down in that place. As he dreamed, a stairway was set on the ground with its top reaching the sky, and God's angels were going up and down on it. The Lord was standing there beside him, saying, "I am the Lord, the God of your father, Abraham, and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your offspring the land on which you are lying. Your offspring will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out towards the west, the east, the north, and the south. All the peoples on the earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. Look, I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go. I will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you." When Jacob awoke from his sleep, he said, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." He was afraid and said, "What an awesome place this is. This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven." Early in the morning, Jacob took a stone that was near his head and set it up as a marker and poured oil on top of it and named the place Bethel, which means house of God. What up?
Hello. The vacuum is in the hallway.
Cool.
There's your cat you left in your car for 3
Thanks.
days.
Though previously the city was named Luz, then Jacob made a vow: "If God will be with me and watch over me during this journey I'm making, if he provides me with food to eat and clothing to wear, and if I return safely to my father's family, then the Lord will be my God. The stone that I set up as a marker will be God's house, and I will give to you a tenth of all that you give me." So Jacob's saying, "Man, thank you, God, for helping me, but hey, I'll follow you if you let these things happen, and then I'll give you all my tithes." And he's like, "All right, whatever." Jacob meets Rachel. Jacob resumed his journey and went to the eastern country. He looked and saw a well in a field. 3 flocks of sheep were lying there beside it, because the sheep were watered from this well, but a large stone covered the opening of the well. The shepherds would roll the stone from the opening of the well and water the sheep when all the flocks were gathered there. Then they would return the stone to its place over the well's opening. Jacob asked the men at the well, "My brothers, where are you from?" "We're from Haran," they answered. "Do you know Laban, grandson of Nahor?" Jacob asked them. They answered, "We know him." "Is he well?" Jacob asked. "Yes," they said, "and here is his daughter Rachel, coming with his sheep." Then Jacob said, "Look, it is still broad daylight. It's not time for the animals to be gathered. Water the flock, then go out and let them graze." But they replied, "We can't until all the flocks have been gathered and the stone is rolled from the well's opening. Then we will water the sheep." While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. As soon as Jacob saw his uncle Laban's daughter Rachel with his sheep, he went up and rolled the stone from the opening and watered his uncle Laban's sheep. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and wept loudly. He told Rachel that he was her father's relative, Rebekah's son. She ran and told her father. Jacob deceived. My throat's dying, guys. 30 chapters in. When Laban heard the news about his sister's son Jacob, he ran to meet him, hugged him, and kissed him. Then he took him to his house, and Jacob told him all that had happened. Laban said to him, "Yes, you are my own flesh and blood." After Jacob had stayed with him a month, Laban said to him, "Just because you're my relative, should you work for me for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be." So Jacob's working for Laban, and Laban's saying, "Hey, what do you want for your work? I don't want to just take advantage of you." Now Laban had 2 daughters. The older was named Leah, and the younger was named Rachel. Leah had tender eyes, but Rachel was shapely and beautiful. Jacob loved Rachel, so he answered Laban, "I'll work for you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel." Laban replied, "Better that I give her to you than some other man. Stay with me." So Jacob worked 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Since my time is complete, give me my wife so I can sleep with her." So Laban invited all the men of the place and sponsored a feast. That evening Laban took his daughter Leah and gave her to Jacob, and he slept with her, as Laban gave his slave Zilpah to his daughter Leah as her slave. When the morning came, there was Leah. So he said to Laban, "What is this you have done to me? Wasn't it for Rachel that I worked to you? Why have you deceived me?" Laban answered, "It is not the custom of this place to give the younger daughter in marriage before the firstborn. Complete this week of wedding celebration, and we will give you this younger one in return for working yet another 7 years for me." And Jacob did just that. He finished the week of celebration, and Laban gave his daughter Rachel as his wife. And Laban gave his slave Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her slave. Jacob slept with Rachel also, and indeed he loved Rachel more than Leah, and he worked for Laban another 7 years. So Jacob married Laban and Rachel. Not Laban, Leah. Because Laban sort of deceived him and said, "Hey, I know you want this one, but here's the other." So now he has 2 wives. And Jacob did just that. He finished the week's celebration. Laban gave his daughter Rachel as his wife, and Laban gave his slave Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her slave. Jacob slept with Rachel also, and indeed he loved Rachel more than Leah, and he worked for Laban another 7 years.